Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Power Core Productions and Podcastings. In today's video, we're going to be continuing My Hero Academia: The Dark Knight Returns. What If Deku Was Batman? Season 2, Part 6. As always, if you're new to the channel or if you're a regular and like what we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is Power Core Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. So, where we last left off with our series, we had a bit of a twist at the end. Bakugo arriving in the event of the Shiei Hasaikai, now taking on the role of the Red Hood. With this world's potential roster of elite heroes now growing and rising in the ranks, we see a correlation of them coming together in the final events of this arc, as they join together to defeat Overhaul and the Shiei Hasaikai once and for all. Also, we will see the climactic finish between Deku and Aoyama, two individuals similar in nature but had gone down two different paths. If things had turned out differently, then who knows where they might be today. But now, as we come closer to the end of the season, witness the climactic conclusion of the Shiei Hasaikai arc. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Bakugo, Melissa, Jinx, Jiro, and Kaminari would all team up battling against Overhaul, who now found himself fending off 5 heroes to 1. In the meantime, Sir Night-Eye was looking after Mirio while fending off the undead foot soldiers of the Court of Owls. And as for Aoyama, the Talon, he and Izuku were now reaching the end of their battle. The two seemingly evenly matched in every way, shape, and form. Izuku panted heavily. He could feel the bruises starting to well up, his body feeling like it was on fire. He had been in many fights before, but never with someone this capable, not since fighting against Deathstroke. But no, Aoyama, he was on a level similar to him. In fact, he might even be on the level above him. "I've counted 6 times, Aoyama would say to Izuku. 6 times in this battle. If you had used lethal force, you could have done severe damage to me. But you're just like him. You don't want to kill, or rather you can't. You won't allow yourself to do so? Well, why? Why won't you go that far?" "I can't. You know I can't. Why? Why cling to such a code? It won't allow you to fight freely. Why hold yourself back? You could be so much more. You could do so much more. You're untapped. I don't want to take a life. As much as it eats at me sometimes, when I see the horrors of this world, when I see the things that people do." "You mean like Chisaki? It bothers you what he did to Eri, doesn't it? Doesn't it bother you? But does anything bother you anymore? You keep saying that you were raised this way, that there's no way that you can change. I don't believe that. Everyone has a choice. Don't you get it, Aoyama? There is no choice for me. There never was. From the day that I was born, the court made me this way. Do you know what I've done, Izuku? How many lives I've taken? Before I even learned how to read or write, before I learned the alphabet, before I learned how to count, my hands were already stained with blood. I saw it. I grew up in it. I was raised by it. And you know, sometimes I wondered if I could be different. You don't think I didn't want to be a hero? But people like me don't get to be heroes. But at least I thought that way. You were different. You were lucky. You were raised by a loving mother. Taken in, trained, raised up. You were taught to be the best that you could be, and you have become that. In a way, I envy you. I wish I could have met someone like you sooner. But it's too late for me. Aoyama readied himself in his stance as he took his sword. This battle, it means everything. My existence is tied to whether or not I succeed. Failure is not an option because there is no other path besides victory. So you have two choices. You either take this seriously and you cut me down once and for all. Save Erie. Be the hero. Or this room will be your gravestone. And you will be cut down here and now. Izuku would charge towards Aoyama, the two of them continuing on in the fight. In the meantime, Overhaul found himself busy fighting against the 5 heroes. Using his quirk Overhaul, he would be able to change the environment and the very ground at will, keeping everyone on their toes as jagged pointed rocks would protrude from the ground and the side walls, the group avoiding the attacks at every which turn, Overhaul attempting to touch or grab one of them. A few of their quirks could have been perfect for combat, so assimilation wasn't out of the question, or just total annihilation. That was also a primary function as well. A few times, the groups had managed to come very close to feeling such a fate. However, they had just managed to survive and to escape. Both Kaminari and Jiro would battle from a distance, using the training they had gotten from their teachers. For Jiro, using her sonic voice, she was able to shoot off concussive blasts at just the right time. Of course, she had to pace herself. The voice box was a very delicate thing. Overuse it, and it could end up backfiring in a terrible way. As for Kaminari, he had to make sure that he timed his shots just right. It took in a lot of work learning how to control lightning and the electric volts that he was able to discharge, condensing them into such a way that he could actually form them into shape. However, once he was able to do so, he realized that shooting off arrows was a lot easier said than done. Some of you might be wondering, of all the things, why does he choose to create and shoot off electric arrows, purely made out of lightning? Well, the answer is simple. Because arrows are the only thing that he can actually create of any real substance. Now, some of you might be thinking of heroes who can make constructs out of different elements. Say a hero like Green Lantern. Well, the thing is that while in theory, Jiro and Kaminari powers work similarly to that of Black Canary, and to an extent that being the Green Arrow, their power sets were still uniquely different in all their own. A better way to explain. In theory, Kaminari could produce enough lightning to create a large construct. However, that would take up almost all of his energy. Remember, quirks are biological. They're not something that can just run infinitely. Even the strongest of heroes have to rest and recharge. Say someone like an Endeavor, or like a Todoroki, or even a Bakugo, who once he runs out of that nitroglycerin sweat, his explosions aren't as powerful or as potent. However, for Kaminari, he has more than enough energy to create a good supply's worth of arrows without getting tired or overcharging, that of which makes his brain deep fry and he turns into a bumbling idiot. It's because of this that learning how to create arrows was the best use of his skill, and being trained by the world's best archer and archer hero was definitely added to boot. Similarly with Jiro, she doesn't have a sonic voice quirk like the Black Canary. However, when in conjunction with a hero tool, using her earphone jacks to plug into a voice box choker that she wears, it can amplify her voice to a similar degree, and thus she can use her power similar to Black Canary. As such, the two made a very good pairing. They had a lot of chemistry and a lot of similarities. They were able to work together, covering each other's weaknesses and amplifying their strengths as they battled off against Overhaul, shooting him with stunning arrows and hitting him with concussive blasts, while Bakugo would deliver devastating explosions. Melissa powering up to almost 30% of One For All, delivering devastating strikes, while Jinx would use Overhaul's own quirk against him, using her own power to manipulate the battlefield in her favor. You could say that she was stinging him with bad luck. For Overhaul, he could feel himself getting overwhelmed at every which turn. Things were not going the way he had expected to. And what's worse, he could feel himself slipping away. As Deku and Aoyama continued their fight, Aoyama was getting sick and tired of Deku holding back. If he wasn't going to take this fight seriously, then he wasn't who he thought he was. Unexpectedly, he would take his sword and drive it through the upper part of Izuku's leg. Izuku yelled out in pain as he fell to the ground. However, he would think on his feet, well, for a lack of a better term. He would take Aoyama to the ground with him, locking his left arm in the Kimura lock. Izuku would apologize for what came next. With enough force, he would snap his arm, breaking it in two. However, Aoyama fought through the pain. As he flipped over and reversed himself to get back on top once again. Using his one free arm, he would rain down a series of punches and strikes onto Izuku's face. The forces being so hard that it almost sounded like he was cracking his skull. Izuku used his one good leg and kicked him in the gut, eventually knocking him off as the two staggered back to their feet. That's what I want. That's what I want. Give it to me. Give me everything you've got. Izuku would charge towards him as best he could, gritting his teeth, fighting through the excruciating pain through his leg. He jumped up one good time, hoping to strike. He had both his arms functional, which meant he had the advantage. He would strike at Aoyama, as he would use a series of combination strikes. He poured everything he had into this flurry of offense, delivering almost 100 strikes in under a minute. As Aoyama stood there stunned and dazed, Izuku on his one good leg would deliver an upper roundhouse kick before the two of them would collapse to the ground. Aoyama simply laid there. His body felt almost numb. He had been trained to fight through the pain, but still, Izuku really gave him a flurry on that one. His mask had rolled off as he was coughing up blood. I knew you were holding out on me. Izuku. Izuku! He could hear a voice through the intercoms of his suit. It was Bruce. Izuku, you're going to be all right. You've exerted yourself to the absolute limit. Stay down. I can't. If you keep pushing yourself at this rate, you can only take but so much. No matter how much latitude that suit gives you, You're still just a human. You don't have a quirk. Don't you think I know that? Besides, I read your dossiers. You fought through much worse. You're still just a kid. Don't give me that. She needs my help. It doesn't matter what I am. If I can't save her here and now, if I can't save one person, I don't deserve to be a hero. Eri, in the meantime, stood atop of one of the pillars, among many that had been formed by Chisaki. Chisaki had her in his sights. The others had already been pushed back. They saw that he was making his move for her. Sir Night-Eye, seeing this and being the closest, would throw a few of his weights, knocking Overhaul in the face as he tried to reach for Eri, only to be stabbed in the gut by one of the spiked pillars. Everyone in the room cried out in horror as they saw Sir Night-Eye careening to the ground. Bakugo would shoot his explosions as he went to go and reach for the girl. However, Overhaul would send multiple pillars, trying his best to knock him off course. Melissa would channel as much as One for All as she could, although she had been stabbed a few times herself, as she had to grit through the pain to get towards Eri as well. Jinx would try to do so, but she found herself being overwhelmed, and neither Jiro nor Kaminari had the capabilities of getting anywhere close to Eri without being eviscerated. Overhaul, he had won. As Sir Night-Eye looked up, he remembered seeing a potential premonition of the future, one where all the heroes had been defeated, their bodies strewn and laid out across the ground. And at the center of it all, having been stabbed through the chest, was Izuku, the Batman. It looked like this was the premonition now finally coming into full view. This was going to be the end. Despite everything they had done, despite everything they had tried, Sir Night-Eye could only grit his teeth at the failure. He was the one charged with training the two successors, the sun and the moon of the next generation, the one that inherited the wills of the two greatest heroes in the world. And yet because of him, because of his foolishness, because he didn't think things through, they were both going to die. Izuku managed to use one of the small medical kits in his utility belt to patch up his leg. Using some numbing medication as well as taking a couple of numbing pills, he looked up and saw Eri clinging on to the cape of Mirio. Activating his rocket boots, he went flying towards her. As he looked up, he yelled for her to jump down. Overhaul would yell to Eri from behind. Look around you, Eri. Look at all of them. All of these heroes. They're all going to die because of you. When will you learn? You are a curse. You are a demon to society. You should never have been born. Quit resisting. Izuku would yell out to Eri to come to him, to jump down to him. He promised that everything would be all right. Eri, you're gonna have to trust me. Please. I promise I'll catch you. As Eri looked towards Overhaul that was coming towards her, as well as Izuku flying to her rescue, she saw the two of them. She knew she had to make a choice. Despite everything she had been through, she remembered that night in the alleyway when she was hidden. even though she felt she could be seen, that at any moment Overhaul could take her away. For that moment when she rested in his arms, she felt safe, secure. She was confident that he could save her. She put her trust in him once. So just one more time, Eri took a leap of faith, jumping into the arms of Izuku. Please, help me. Overhaul would yell in a rage as he went towards the two. Manipulating the ground once again, Izuku, however, would push his body past the limits, jumping and dodging every single attack that came his way. Overhaul was so fixated on the two of them, he didn't see that two of the heroes had gotten back up, Melissa and Bakugo. Bakugo channeled the largest explosion he could, shooting it directly into Overhaul's back, while Melissa would come charging in. It would only be for a moment. She knew that if she tried to hold on to it for any longer than that, she would destroy herself. She remembered her training with Uncle All Might and with Master Gran Torino. "Remember, young Melissa," All Might would say, "you still currently don't know how to use One for All to its fullest capabilities. But still, the fact that you're able to use 30% of it almost flawlessly is a testament to just how much you've grown. Tell me though, if I wanted to use 100%, how long do you think I could do so without my body breaking down?" That would be tricky. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend you using 100%, although never knowing what situation you might be in. "Master, can you give a rough estimate?" Gran Torino, who had been training with the girl and observing, would give his best guess. "I would say, based off of how far she's come, Toshinori, if she were to use 100% of One for All, at most, she'd have 5 seconds. It would be a flash. It would have to be one strike. If I had to give you an example, it would be akin to having your hand on the volume button of a car. You know, a turn dial. Cranking it all the way up to 100, and then just as quickly dropping it all the way back down to 0. It'll literally have to be a flash in the pan. The power that you use, you have to exert it immediately upon impact, and then just as quickly switch it off. If you hold on to it for any longer than 5 seconds, you're not gonna get the full capability of it, and you'll more than likely destroy yourself. So, in a short way of saying it, you have to time it for 5 seconds just right. If you go before 5 seconds, then you won't get the full impact of the attack. If you go past 5 seconds, you'll destroy yourself. Although, I expressly forbid you to use it unless you're in a life or death situation. Melissa had been waiting for this moment. Bakugo created the opening with the explosion. She would begin to channel One for All. 1 second. 2 seconds. She used the power to close the gap between her and the villain. 3 seconds. She would cock back her arm. 4 seconds. She would launch the attack. As Overhaul looked up. 5! The explosive, concussive attack would now be launched towards Overhaul. At the point of the attack, Melissa would shut down One for All as quickly as she could. She felt a reverberating pain shoot through her entire body. She could feel the pressures of One for All. It was brief. It was just for a moment, but it was enough to rattle her. as she was sent flying back from her own attack as well, and Bakugo in the opposite direction. Overhaul went crashing into the ground below. Izuku managing to hold on to Eri throughout the entire ordeal as they landed on the ground themselves. Eri still wrapped within Mirio's cape. However, her horn had gotten much bigger. As the smoke cleared throughout the room, Overhaul slowly rose to his feet. You think that's enough? You think that's enough to stop me? Overhaul would begin to walk towards Izuku and Eri. Bakugo put everything he had into that explosion. He was slowly getting to his feet, trying to muster up whatever strength he could to get to Izuku and to Eri. Melissa, on the other hand, she had knocked herself so hard into the wall she formed a deepening crater, and she was just barely pulling herself out. Izuku would place Eri behind her as Overhaul reached out his hands. Izuku knew that he couldn't move any further. The only thing he could do was stay in this position. However, as Overhaul got closer towards the two, a gunshot would ring out as Overhaul felt something shoot him in the back of his neck. He felt his body begin to change. What the? It was Jinx. He looked up towards her. She loomed over him on a higher pile of rubble. She had managed to find the quirk erasing bullet and the gun. She shot him 3 more times as he felt his quirk leaving his body. No. What have you done? What have you done? You bitch! I'll kill you. You! However, as Overhaul felt himself return to normal, he felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned and saw who it was. It was the Bat. Why don't you try me? Izuku would hit Overhaul with a devastating uppercut as he limped towards him. Overhaul getting back onto his feet. Even if he didn't have a quirk, he still knew how to fight. The two of them would engage in one-on-one combat. No quirks, no weapons, hand to hand. Chisaki would get in a few shots himself. However, Izuku was relentless. He took every hit that came his way. What was fueling him? What was keeping him going? It was his hatred. His hate for Overhaul, for everything he had done. Come on, Chisaki. Is that the best you got? Chisaki would continue to punch him in the face, but it didn't stop him. It couldn't stop him. He was just walking through each strike. Chisaki's knuckles were starting to shake, bleeding profusely as he backed off. Stay back. This can't be. Why won't you stay down? Izuku wasn't fazed as he kept walking towards Chisaki, who now found himself being backed into a corner. He couldn't use his quirk to escape. There was no getting out. What do you want? I'll give you anything. Please, I can't fail. They'll kill me. Please. What are you? He grabbed him by the neck and raised him into the air. I'm I'm vengeance. Izuku would slam him to the ground as he mounted on top of him and delivered punch after punch. You're gonna pay. You're gonna pay for what you did, Chisaki. You wanted to hurt them. Well, try hurting me. I wasn't born with a quirk, you know. I didn't have anything. But you could have helped people. You could have saved people. But no, you hurt people. You made their lives a living hell. Well, why don't you try doing it now, huh? When it's man to man. No quirks. Try doing that to me, Chisaki. Go on. Get up. I want you to. I said get up! Izuku would raise him up just to knock him down once again. Eri watched in terror as Izuku continued to punish Chisaki. At first, there were gargling sounds of mercy, until eventually, the sounds stopped. Izuku! Izuku, stop! Izuku, you're going to kill him! Izuku! Izuku kept punching over and over. Izuku, stop! Izuku! Oh God. We need backup. Sparrow! Sparrow and Aizawa were racing and making their way down to the underground. Sparrow, you need to stop Izuku. What's the matter? He has Chisaki incapacitated, but he won't stop attacking. At this rate, he's going to kill him. Oh God. What's the matter? Aizawa would say. Your student, he's been pushed to the edge. Without even thinking, the two of them would move as fast as they could. Eri would make a walk as Izuku raised his fist once again. Before they could connect, he felt two hands wrapping around him. Please stop. Please. You're better than him. This isn't you. As Izuku looked down on the ground, he saw the bloodied and mangled body of Chisaki. Izuku would slowly back away. Eri's quirk, now being pushed to its limit, would start to rewind. Her, Izuku, and even Chisaki himself. They rewound to a certain point. Izuku's body was completely healed, but he could feel himself starting to change once again. Eri's quirk was out of control. However, Aizawa would arrive in time using Erasure, erasing the quirk of Eri and getting it to calm down. However, Eri's quirk worked a little too well, as unfortunately, it undid all the damage the quirk erasing bullets had done to Chisaki, who was now up and ready to go. He was still badly beaten, but even still, he was conscious enough. He slapped his hand onto the ground, launching jagged pillars towards Izuku. At their trajectory, it would stab him directly in the chest. He could kill all of them. He could take Eri and get out of here. He could still win this. However, before Izuku could be stabbed, he would be pushed out of the way. And Aoyama would be the one, having his chest pierced by the jagged rocks. His entire chest being blown away. Aoyama! Don't look at me like that. You seem surprised. Eraserhead would use his quirk to stop Chisaki in his tracks, as Sparrow would deliver a devastating knee strike to the back, knocking him out. and placing him in handcuffs. Izuku, he panicked. Aoyama was... No. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Aoyama, come on. Izuku tried to help him, but there was no point. Izuku, just I'll help you. I can do something. It's okay. It's okay. At least I get to go out on my terms. I'm free. I'm finally free. Aoyama! Aoyama! Mr. Aizawa shielded Erie's eyes from the sight. Even he was moved by this. What kind of a teacher was he? In the fact that he had lost one of his students. Izuku fell to his knees. As he looked up, the ceiling had caved in enough, as he could see the sky looming above. A gray sky, as a downpour of rain fell amongst him. Aoyama! Aoyama! For Izuku in that moment, despite victory, it came at a price. And for Izuku, he learned a dark and shuddering truth on this day. No matter how skilled you are, no matter what you do, there are some people that you cannot save. Yuga Aoyama was the first. And as unfortunate as I am to say this, in the life of a hero, he would not be the last. This concludes My Hero Academia: The Dark Knight Returns. What If Deku Was Batman? Season 2, Part 6. As always, if you're new to the channel or if you're a regular and like what we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that's to come out now and in the future. Also, if you haven't, make sure you check out yesterday's Part 5, along with all of our other uploads this week and everything else here on PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. And stay tuned for Monday, as we will do the Season 2 finale for My Hero Academia: The Dark Knight Returns. What If Deku Was Batman? Season 2, Part 7, the Season 2 finale. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.